Hi angels, it is actually tea and tarot. I decided it's high time that I actually put time aside to do tea and tarot, and it was quite a spontaneous decision, I'm going to admit, so I actually don't have any tea on the go right now. I did just finish a cup about half an hour ago, surprise, surprise, of a very interesting blend which was halfway between Earl Grey and Lapsang Souchong, although I'm not sure if that was intentional. A friend brought it round for us, and I really wasn't sure about it, so I couldn't finish it all the way to the bottom because it didn't seem to be one way or the other. It was tea that was having some kind of an identity crisis, and I wasn't entirely sure that my taste buds were wanting to go down that particular road. So I tried it. I'll try anything once, but I don't think I'll be trying it again. My boyfriend has gone out to get me something that more closely resembles a standard cup of English tea because I'm really feeling that at the moment. When I woke up this morning, I was really into the raspberry and strawberry though. That was lovely, very invigorating. Which actually leads nicely onto the subject for this episode of Tea and Tarot. A little while ago on my Facebook page, somebody asked me if I could do an episode which kind of talks about motivation and how to get yourself out of those slumps, how to get yourself doing what you really want to be doing and spending your time effectively. And tarot has many hundreds of messages for us on this, and of course I do like to keep the episode down to just 6 cards. So I really started thinking about some of the key messages at the moment that tie in with my life, and so hopefully have more of a synchronistic chance of tying in with yours, and we're going to see where we go with it. But I think really one of the main lessons that tarot often has to teach us about motivation is that the ways that we reach a motivated state are very particular to the individual, and they change throughout our lives and they change throughout the circumstances that we encounter, which is a useful reason for there to be 78 cards, I suppose. So that you can have all of those different combinations and different ways of looking at things dependent upon your circumstances. So, it interests me that sometimes we do try and find just one way of getting motivated, or we use several techniques which work at one point in our lives, but then as we progress, we forget to kind of check in and look for different ways to get inspired and to stay motivated. I think there are many hundreds of things out there that hold us back, many triggers that make us feel that we can't be motivated to do what we want to do. And because of that, we need to reassess our reaction to motivation at different times during our lives. That being said, I'm going to go on and discuss the first card that I've selected for getting motivated. I've chosen the Three of Cups. Now, the Three of Cups obviously taps into the relationships you have with other people, those interpersonal connections that you have with friends, family, lovers, work colleagues, all that kind of thing. And the reason that I've selected the Three of Cups, there are a few reasons really. Firstly, I think it's really important if you want to stay motivated and go after your goals and really feel like you're using your time productively. I think it's important to make sure that you're surrounded by people in your life who are supportive of what you're trying to do. And I think it's also important to open up to the people in your life and let them know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, because all too often we keep these things to ourselves. We just have this private little part of our headspace and heart space which is for our goals, but we don't really talk about them, and maybe that's because we're scared of coming across as self-involved, or maybe it's because we think that if we talk about them and then we fall short of them, it's going to be embarrassing and people are going to judge us. But really, the people that we surround ourselves with in our lives are often the best meter for our own success, and they can give a lot of their own input and support. It's a very lonely road when you're going after a motivation, when you're going after a goal and you're seeking that motivation to really get it done. It's a lonely road when you're just in it on your own, when you have nobody to talk to or seek support from. And if you feel that your goal, like me for example with my tarot interest, if you feel that the people in your life are not going to be overly receptive in the way that you need them to be, then check out communities online or join a local group, just so that you're getting that feedback and you're getting that sense of collaboration. Sometimes when you're going after a motivation, I'm sorry, I keep saying motivation, but I mean goal. When you're going after a goal and you feel like it's very difficult to get motivated because it's a hard slog and you're doing it on your own, often you can invite that sense of collaboration into your life and find that there's a lot of meat on that particular bone. You don't necessarily have to invite somebody to involve themselves in your project, maybe it's not that way for you, and that's fine. But what you can do is you can invite the collaboration of feedback and exchange of ideas and that kind of thing. And that's very motivating. And as I said, also letting people know what your goals are, get specific, talk yourself up, talk about what it is that you plan to do over the next 3 months or 6 months, so that you have those people in your lives that are positive influences who can really sort of push you and urge you forward and ask you for updates and show interest in what you're doing so that you maintain that interest in what you're doing yourself. The other side of the Three of Cups is, of course, questioning any negative influences or questioning people who discourage actively what you're getting motivated to do. I know that a lot of people at this point in their lives are going through another shift or transition which involves purging people from their general vicinity who may not be encouraging or may not be a guiding force, but are more kind of dragging you back or naysaying and telling you that you can't do it, or kind of questioning why you're doing it and asking you to reassess and reconsider, when actually you feel quite gung-ho and you feel from heart level like, yes, it is time to do this. But sometimes the influences in your life kind of project their own consciousness onto yours, and they have this idea that because there's certain things that they can't do and certain fears that they're trapped by, you ought to be in the same boat, and that kind of feeds into what you're trying to do, and it can be very demotivating. So sometimes it's about making sure that you spend more time with those people who are positive influences and who always have something good to say about what you're doing. Of course, it's important for people to be able to speak their personal truth, obviously. But it's also very important that when you feel that you want to get motivated for a goal and you're really passionate about it, that the people in your life make sure that what they're giving to you is positive and what they're giving to you is encouraging. The King of Cups, I couldn't decide between the King of Cups and the Sun, but for some reason with this particular tea and tarot I had a major draw towards the court cards. So I guess for me they say something personally about the role of motivation. The King of Cups is a lot to do with surrounding yourself with where you find joy, the things that you find joy in, understanding what inspires you, what really strikes your interest, and moving more towards those things. The King of Cups is all about the enjoyment of art and music and books, and he's really about going where he feels inspired and where he feels nurtured and nourished. He believes that there is a great many things in this world to be inspired by, the beauty in the world, you know, the natural beauty, but the beauty also that comes from man-made artistic endeavour. That kind of thing really moves him and speaks to him, so he tries to stay as close to that as possible. The King of Cups is really my message to you about reassessing your goals. What is it that you want to get motivated for? And maybe it's changed a great deal since you last actually checked in with yourself. Maybe the goal that you are now running after and you're wondering why you can't get that sense of motivation for it, maybe it's changed, maybe it's altered. Maybe it's altered as you've altered. And it's okay to reassess your goals and to re-explore what it is that you actually want, and to make certain tweaks and make certain changes if you find that your goal is now no longer your goal, if you find that really you're hankering after something else. Now there is a difference between embracing a new goal and understanding that you've changed, and also just kind of telling yourself that you don't really want that because you're too scared of going forward and actually getting it. The King of Cups is completely in touch with his core. He's in alignment with his core being. He's in touch with his heart. He knows what he wants from deep down inside because he's not afraid to check in with his intuition and to really notice what it is that gives him joy and brings him abundance and makes him feel all of these incredibly positive things which he believes he's entitled to. If you are after a goal and it really speaks to you at heart level and you really know that it's part of what you should be doing, that it's part of your very complex and interwoven life purpose, it's going to be much easier to get motivated for it. If your goal is tied in with things like concern about other people's perceptions of you, or about what you wanted to be when you were younger, what you wanted to be 5 years ago, what you think you'd be best at in alignment with what you're good at, but essentially, you know, you feel like maybe you're a little bit of you're somebody with feathers that's hanging out with people with fur, if you see what I mean. You're pushing yourself towards something because you think, yes, that's in alignment with who I am. But is it in alignment with what you want? Is it in line with your truest and deepest feeling, your highest joy? And I think sometimes we really need to re-explore that. I think a lot of us go through shifts and transitions, and during those shifts and transitions, our goals and our desires, what we're actually urged towards doing, changes. And I think it's okay to consciously and actively notice that, and to remind ourselves that when our goals change, our motivation and the way that we get to that goal is going to change too. So sometimes things just need to be altered in accordance with who we're becoming. So yeah, just look at your goals. Ask yourself if you really find joy in those goals, if they are still what you want, or if they need to be kind of updated. The devil I've thrown into the mix to address bad habits, those negative cycles. I think a lot of the time when we're not motivated to go ahead and do what we want to do, and we're not motivated to put steps into place to reach our goals, a lot of the time there are some bad habits behind that. Either they're habits with regard to time management and being efficient and making sure that we make the best of the hours in the day. Sometimes they're bad emotional habits. We hold ourselves back because we're so scared of actually reaching our goal, or we're scared that if we set off along a certain road with our motivation, we're not going to feel that we've ever done enough during the day. Perhaps that is a bad habit of yours, that it doesn't matter how much you do during the day. You tell yourself that it's never enough. There are lots of emotional trappings that come along that are very nicely symbolised by the devil that I feel can get in the way of motivation. Now, the most important thing to do when you are demotivated, when you feel like you really want to get up and do something to work towards your goal, but you can't seem to do it, there's something pulling you back. The important thing to do is just to take a snapshot of what's going on in your life at that moment when you feel so demotivated and you can't seem to get that get up and go energy that you need. Because the snapshot will show you the circumstances, your mindset, and any surrounding outside influencing factors at the time that you feel so demotivated and so unable. And you'll notice as you keep taking snapshots of these times in your life when you can't get motivated and you can't get ready to go out and do something, that a lot of the circumstances surrounding you and within you are the same. They're triggers that come up time and time again that make you feel like you can't get out there and kick some ass and do what you want to do. Once you've identified the triggers for these mental processes that come into place that make you feel like you can't actually do what you want to do and you can't find that energy for motivation, you'll notice that different things always come into play. Like, for example, there might be somebody that always gives you this very discouraging, naysaying advice, or encourages you never to take any risks, play it safe the whole time. And that might be part of the reason that you can't get into this motivated state of mind where you feel positive and you feel that you're open to spontaneity and you're open to opportunity and exploration. You might find that you have an inner saboteur deep down inside of you, and there are certain emotional triggers that need to come into play. Maybe for ladies it could be a certain time of the month, maybe for other people it could be when you are feeling very competitive with others and insecure about what other people are doing. You might find that these feelings have their roots in childhood, all that kind of thing. So as you start to peel back the layers of this snapshot and you take a look at what's actually happening within and without to lend itself to this feeling that you can't do what you want to do, you'll notice that there are triggers and they come up time and time again. And once you've acknowledged and accepted these triggers, the trick is just to find techniques that work for you. The trick is to openly acknowledge that yes, this is part of my shadow self, I'm going to integrate it, I'm not going to attack it, I'm not going to berate myself for it, none of that is useful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate it by giving it what it needs to make sure that it doesn't hold me back. I'm going to accept that it's part of me. It's part of either my conditioning or the way I've kind of brought myself up to be. It's part of the world that I live in. It's unfortunate, but it's one of those things that happens to me, and now I'm going to do what I can do to accept it and integrate it in a positive way. I'm not going to let it hold me back. I'm going to find those techniques that work for me, that stand the biggest chance of actually allowing me to process this fear, process this trigger, process this obstacle, so that when it comes up, you feel like you have an arsenal, okay? You feel like you have an emotional toolkit which is strong enough and sturdy enough to help you get through it. Because a lot of the time when triggers come into play and they hold us back from doing what we really want to do, the main problem is that we don't notice them. We're not consciously aware of them. We don't acknowledge them. And that means that they can do their work under the radar. And quite often we're not able to put any techniques in place or to confirm, oh, okay, this is this trigger coming up. I know what this is. I have a blueprint for it. I've explored it before. And I know what I need to do to kind of duck under or go over. That's all it really needs. And if there's no conscious understanding that that trigger's in place at all, then those techniques and that driving force that you need, those words of love that you can give to yourself, etc., they're not going to be there. They're not going to be available for you. So it's almost like you're trying to fix a broken house with no tools. You can't really see what there is that needs to be done and what it is that you've got in your toolkit to help you, because there's no conscious acceptance of the fact that there's an issue. So I think that's really important a lot of the time. You need to take a look at when you're demotivated, or when you feel unable, or when you feel weak, or when you feel like you don't know how to push forward. You need to just take those snapshots and take a look at the circumstances that are occurring. Who's around? How do you feel in yourself? What kind of time of the week or the month is it? What phase of the moon is it? Take a look at things that you might not even think affect you and affect your sense of motivation. Things come together when you start taking these snapshots, and that allows you to put the necessary tools in place to work with these parts of your shadow aspects, instead of just simply berating yourself for them and getting very angry with yourself and not having a very nice time. The Fool I've used to illustrate the importance of assessing your relationship to the outcome and how you feel about the importance of the outcome of what you're doing. For some people, they are very, very inspired and guided by hardcore visualization and affirmation of the outcome. You know, they see their future, they visualize their future, they've got step-by-step plans to reach the goal that they want to reach, and they've got the goal in their mind's eye 100%. And that is what works for them. That is not what works for everybody. Some people are actually terrified by very strong visualizations of the outcome. They start to fantasize and fixate on a certain outcome until it is given all of the power and all of the emotional energy, and suddenly it seems like the present moment is just a really scary place to be, and you start doubting yourself. Sometimes the vision goes above and beyond your ability to actually perceive and comprehend it, and the vision becomes scary. The vision becomes something that's not healthy, and I've talked about this a lot recently. I think that the Fool is such an interesting card a lot of the time because he does not have a game plan. He's just putting one foot in front of the other. There are lots of cards in tarot that really tap into the importance of visualizing your goal, giving yourself positive affirmations, making a step-by-step plan, making a timeline, making a schedule, sticking to that schedule, obligation, responsibility, all of that kind of thing. The Fool, in contrast, is really about day by day. He's really about moment to moment. He's about spontaneity, and he's about taking his perception of who he is and what he wants away from perceived ideas or steadfast ideas or anything hard and fast that can't be changed as the moment unfolds. He's not really cool with that. He's more about enjoying everything as it flows. Sometimes you may find at certain points in your life, or you may find that you just have a personality or a character that kind of feeds into this, you may find that strong visualizations and strong affirmations and very big ideas of exactly where you want to be and when you're going to get there and what it's all going to look like, you may find that that's scary for you. You may find that that actually shoots your motivation dead in the water. And obviously it's a very difficult thing to pull yourself away from if it's something that you've been doing for a long time. But I urge you to try. I urge you to have a conversation with yourself right now if motivation is something that's difficult for you. I urge you to have a dialogue with yourself about your attachment to the outcome and whether or not it's healthy. Do a little bit of therapeutic journaling, do a little bit of exploration with yourself about your attachment to the outcome and whether or not that outcome that you perceive in your mind's eye and that you kind of make into this wonderful elaborate place and you fixate over and you maybe think you're using it to motivate you and to strengthen you and to inspire you, is it actually becoming toxic? Is it actually becoming one of those places in your mind that's actually freaking you out so much that you're scared to put one foot in front of the other? Or maybe you feel like one foot in front of the other is just too damn slow because you have this great big idea in your mind of what the future is going to look like, gung-ho, and putting one foot in front of the other maybe seems a little bit too much like consensus reality for you. So it's like if you can't have it all right now, you might as well not start at all. That's where it goes. When the outcome becomes toxic, that's where it goes. It makes you feel like you just might as well not start at all. So have a conversation with yourself about the outcome and exactly what kind of role it's playing in your life. If the role it's playing is not positive, you may need to reassess. The King of Wands, just a quick message. I decided to use the King of Wands to illustrate what I want to say here. I think it's really important to look back on your past triumphs and your past successes. I think it's important to look at who you are when you're in the seat of your power, and by that I mean the seat of your personal power, but also your power to praise yourself, your power to congratulate yourself, and your power to make things happen. The fire power, the manifesting power, the power of going and getting it done, getting out there, making things come into being. The King of Wands is totally in the seat of his creative power. He's in the seat of his masculine energy. And I think a lot of the time when we don't feel our sense that our masculine energy is in the driver's seat, what can be really useful is to look back on the times in our lives when our masculine energy has really come to the fore and really given us something very nourishing and nurturing. And your masculine energy might have different triggers for coming into the foreground than mine. Your masculine energy might be very, very available to you in a crisis, okay? Whereas some people hit that crisis situation and their masculine energy just goes the way of the dodo. They can't access it. Whereas some people are very good at accessing their masculine energy when the chips are down. So maybe you need that sense of urgency, you need that sense of fire underneath you. So you might be the kind of person, for example, if that translates for you, who might be really good at doing things on a timetable, or giving yourself some kind of restriction or some kind of cut-off point, some kind of deadline, so that you feel that sense of urgency that makes your masculine energy flow. Other people might find that their masculine energy really flows when they're in the seat of their joy, when they feel really inspired by something, and it leads them off onto their own kind of road of motivation. So if you're really, really inspired, for example, by looking at great big canvases of modern art, you might need to take a trip to a gallery. Maybe that's what turns the cogs in your mind. There are different ways of accessing your masculine energy dependent upon who you are and how comfortable you are with it in the first place. I think that it's really good to look at your peak times. I think it's great to look back over the times when you were really proud of what you accomplished, the times when you really pulled something out of the bag, the times when you worked against all of the odds. Tap into that part of yourself, because that's not just a memory, that's not just it's not something that can just be left as an abstract point in time. It's part of what you did. So harness it, you know, get in tune with it. Get in tune with what you had to pull out of yourself to really make that manifest. Get in tune with what was happening. And don't use this to victimize yourself or make excuses for yourself, because you did that. Despite the odds, despite what was going on, you may have had more money now, or more money then, or more time then. You might have felt more comfortable with yourself. There might have been less going on. You might have just come out of a difficult relationship, or you're telling yourself that there are certain factors that are coming into play that means that you're not the same person that you were then. But at core level, you had to pull something out of the bag to motivate yourself in that situation, and you can pull that same thing out of the bag again. You just might need different ways, different modalities to get down to that part of you that managed to get motivated and actually do it. But I think it's really important to celebrate those times, to take a look back over what we've actually done, and really give ourselves credit and really give ourselves a pat on the back, because when you're low on motivation, you can really start to berate yourself and push yourself and get angry with yourself, and I think that's difficult. So sometimes it's good to give yourself credit. Have a dialogue with yourself about those great things that you did in the past, and, you know, enjoy the photo album of your past successes, and some of that good energy will flow up and kind of start manifesting itself in the now, so that you can kick your own arse in the present. Finally, the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles is just a quick message about the mind-body connection, which of course is very important when it comes to motivation and getting in touch with the amount of energy that we actually have to put into the things that we want to do and the things we want to manifest. The Queen of Pentacles is really in the seat of her power when it comes to her physical health and the relationship between her emotions and her physical being. So she's concerned with things like diet, she's concerned with checking in with herself, with addressing any ailments. She wants to be kind to her body, she doesn't want to put it under too much stress. She wants to try and understand what the good foods are to eat, what the good level of energy is to exert, what kind of exercise she can get into the day that will make her feel energized and revitalized. She wants to have a relationship with her body because she's in her body. And she understands that when the body is neglected, or when we act as though we're this completely transcendental being which doesn't actually reside within matter, or when we act as if our body can just go and go and go without any breaks and without any healing time, that leads to dangerous places, particularly when we have goals that we really want to manifest and work with. So the Queen of Pentacles is just my small message to you regarding your own mind-body connection in terms of the motivation that you have. Checking in with your biorhythms is often very important when looking at the reasons why you might not feel as motivated as you want to feel. Things like your bowel movements and bladder movements, your sleep patterns, how much eating you're doing and what the foods are that you're eating, checking out what your particular energy foods are, which foods kind of are superfoods for you personally, what do you eat that makes you feel sluggish and lethargic? Do you tend to find when you complete your workout regime, if you have one, that you feel more motivated afterwards, or do you maybe push yourself too hard and you think that that's to the detriment of other areas of your life? Check in with the mind-body connection, and your motivation levels and your energy levels will thank you. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been Tea and Tarot. As always, if you want to check out more tarot content, you can go over to the blog. I will be filming another Soul Tarot workshop. I'm just trying to find the time. I could have maybe gotten away with doing one right now, but my boyfriend is making dinner and so on, and he's going to want to eat his dinner in this room. So again, it's just finding a full hour, because the Soul Tarot workshop really is a labour of love, but I will be back with it and I will be doing it again. And if you have any questions about tarot, you can leave them below and I'll do my best to get in contact with you, or go over to the Facebook page and ask there. I am doing tarot tuition now over on the Etsy shop. It is very affordable. You can get 1 week's worth of tuition for just £30 or 2 weeks worth for £60. So if you're looking for a personal one-on-one tutor, keep me in mind. Much love, blessed be.